For years now, Wayne Dalton has utilized this proprietary spring system to work on their 9100 series garage doors. And for good or bad, this spring system works perfectly on those specific doors. But in this video, we are going to highlight how the Wayne Dalton Torquemaster Plus spring system can be tricky to replace, especially when you're dealing with the cable drums. Let's party. Now, the Wayne Dalton Torquemaster Plus spring system works very differently than traditional torsion springs. Here we have an example of the Wayne Dalton Torquemaster Plus. It has a center bracket with a bearing. It has a tube. Normally on a 16-foot wide door, there's 2 springs inside. On a single car door, there's only 1 spring. And then we have cable drums. At the end of those cable drums, we would have the ratchet bearing plate that are vital when installing the Torquemaster Plus spring system. Now, it's worth mentioning that this sticker right here has information with regards to your Wayne Dalton Torquemaster Plus spring. And one of the main things that I like to highlight is the fact that this number right here with regards to the weight is very vital. It's very important. Of course, you have your spring information there, but that can get a little complicated if they don't have the right spring. So that number right there that starts with a 3, that's going to be your part number. Now, I specifically look for those numbers because the weight of the door is very important and the part number is very important. So I'm able to call Wayne Dalton and they're able to provide me the right springs that I need for the specific garage door that I'm working on. Now, before I move on, you might have read an abundance of dealer contractors that simply hate this type of spring system and by extension, the Wayne Dalton 9100 model door. But this is the reality. That door from Wayne Dalton is installed throughout countless homes here in the nation. Now, it's not the best door. Wayne Dalton recognizes that, but it does offer some benefits when you're looking at a simple builder's door that is at least polyurethane insulated, that is not going to be super heavy, and that you should be able to utilize. So try to keep that perspective when watching this video, because this spring system does have its quirks, but it was designed specifically to work perfectly for your garage door. Now, one thing I do when working with the Torquemaster Plus spring system is that I ensure that the cable drums are in good condition. I don't always replace the cable drums, and that's mainly to keep costs down for the customer. But if your cable drums are in a bad condition, specifically if your cables are starting to fray, it would be safer to replace those cable drums because those cable drums will fray, they'll start to split, and you'll have problems with your garage door balance. But in my professional opinion, I would replace the cables specifically if they're frayed or if I notice that there's something to those cables that would not work properly for the new springs. Now, I have a really good example on what those frayed cables might look like on that Torquemaster Plus spring system, and you can tell that those cables are just mangled. These are completely frayed on that cable drum, and normally they don't look like this. In fact, I didn't cut these cables. In fact, it was really hard for me to get this cable drum off of the Torquemaster Plus spring system. And one of the main reasons why is because the cable ended up actually getting stuck inside the cable drum. This little piece right here actually found itself lodged into the cable drum. It was stuck in there like so, and there's a spring that actually pops out from here, and there was no amount of banging. I really couldn't do much to get this cable drum off. I actually had to pry a piece of that broken frayed cable from the cable drum in order to get it off. And there, I said it again, I try to be fair with regards to the Torquemaster Plus spring system because I know and I recognize, yeah, it's not perfect. This is something that quite frankly could be an issue if those cables started to fray more often or if those cables found themselves lodged and now you're having to work extra simply to get that off, and that could frustrate a customer, especially if they're trying to DIY this project on their own. Well, that's what DIY means, right? All right, so we're gonna zoom in here real quick. Hey party people, hope you're enjoying the video so far. If so, please hit that like button, and I do hope you consider subscribing. Now, I'd like to take a minute to talk about our video sponsor, and our video sponsor is our own merch store. On our merch store, we offer Torsion Trucker Caps with a variety of different torsion spring sizes. Our caps are high quality, perfect for men and women, young and old. More importantly, they are distinctly color coordinated for the spring of your choice. They're great for anyone, and they're perfect conversation starters. So one way that you could support our channel is heading over to our website and picking up your very own Torsion Trucker Cap. Link in the description. But the point that I'm trying to get at is that I did not foresee this piece of frayed cable getting stuck in that cable drum. One of the main things that I would basically look for when it comes to these cable drums is just chase the cable down. Does it feel like it's frayed? Now granted, I would not do that without gloves, thus be safe when doing so. But again, chasing the cable down, simply looking at it, perhaps maybe taking a flashlight, just making sure that the cable itself is in good condition is one way you could mitigate that situation. In addition to that, maybe you just want to go ahead and make the expense for new cable drums, and that's perfectly fine because new cable drums again are not very expensive. It's just simply more labor to install. Thus there would be a benefit to invest money into new cable drums just to ensure that your new Torquemaster Plus spring system is going to work for years to come. Now, as soon as I said that, I know that I'm gonna have my garage door colleagues or everyone in the garage door community say, what do you mean years to come? Torquemaster Plus springs do not last very long. And all I have to say to that is, yeah, you're right. Again, let's keep into perspective what we're dealing with. The Wayne Dalton 9100 model door or the 9000 series is a builder's door. It's one of those entry-level doors. And that doesn't necessarily mean that it was the best door whenever the builder put it in. In fact, the spring system along with the door itself does not last very long. But that can be said for some of these other doors that are also within the community. I prefer the Wayne Dalton 9100 just because of how it's built and its weight. I know it's not for everyone. Nevertheless, I believe it's better than what you would normally get when a builder finishes or builds your garage. In fact, I'd like to take the time to respond to someone that in the community reached out about the Wayne Dalton Torquemaster Plus spring system. And it's from Dana Lake, and I really appreciate what he says. He says, I agree that some contractors may install the wrong torsion spring in a conversion, but the right one will double the lifespan over the Torquemaster. I've installed plenty of new Wayne Dalton doors and would never recommend the Torquemaster in any circumstance. And it's not because I'm afraid of something new. It's because they break every 6 to 8 years. So that's a really interesting perspective and comment, and I have seen that happen within the community here where I live. Actually, I've seen the Torquemaster Plus spring system break anywhere from 4 to 8 years, and I don't know why that's the case. But with the number or the abundance of Torquemasters that I have installed, they have been able to hold up under the conditions here in Southern California. And notice that I say conditions because Wayne Dalton garage doors don't do very well in harsher climates. In fact, I can't really think of an area outside of Southern California where I've seen the Wayne Dalton Torquemaster do better than in my area. Thus, I feel that in Southern California, the Wayne Dalton Torquemaster Plus spring system has been able to hold its own. Now, 6 to 8 years is about average. I've seen the Wayne Dalton Torquemaster spring system go from 10 plus. Now, I don't know if that's because of the quality of the spring. I don't know if it's because of the specific lifestyle of the family. That is, they don't necessarily use their garage door much. But what I do know is that, again, this spring system works perfectly for the Wayne Dalton 9100 model door. And I agree with you too, Dana. I wouldn't necessarily recommend a Torquemaster Plus spring system on any other door, but when it comes to the Wayne Dalton 9100 model door, yeah, I'm recommending Torquemaster Plus because it was designed for it. It's the best spring for that door. Even though you can double the life with torsion springs, that's perfectly fine. You can offer that. Of course, there's going to be a price tag involved in that, and some customers don't want to pay that. Of course, if they do, then that's great. And this video is not specifically made to talk about the cost differences. I'm just trying to be honest with regards to the Torquemaster Plus spring. I know it's not the best spring, but I do feel that it is the best spring for the 9100 model door. And if that's something that perhaps maybe inclines you to want to tackle the spring replacement to your door, knowing that most dealer installers will simply want to convert it, then so be it. I respect that. That's your call. In fact, I think it's a wake-up call to the garage door industry because a conversion is usually the first thing that they want to do. Nevertheless, if we can provide customers options, that is if they're dealing with a 9100 model door and we can explain to them that the Wayne Dalton Torquemaster Plus spring was designed for their door and that they're able to get specific lifespan or cycle life out of that door, keeping in perspective the realistic expectations of that spring system, then I believe most people will be happy. Again, we let the customers decide and we do our best to keep them safe with their garage door system. In fact, when deciding on new springs, I always recommend going with a high cycle spring. Thus, let's keep this party going. Check out one of these videos right here. As always, I want to thank y'all for partying with me. Y'all stay safe.